Hi, I'm Kirk Carpenter, Superintendent for the Aztec Municipal School District. Today I'm going to talk to you about school grades. The Public Education Department has released the school grades from the 2015-16 school year, and overall we're pleased. 2 schools maintained their grades, 2 fell, and 2 made nice gains. Let's take a look at our schools more closely in the district. Lydia Rippey Elementary came up from a D all the way up to a B. McCoy Elementary maintained their B from 2014-15 and maintained the same grade again in 2015 and 16. Park Avenue Elementary again made a nice gain. They moved from a C from 2014-15 up to a B in the school year 2015 and 16. Kugler Elementary, unfortunately, they moved from an A in 2014-15 and fell all the way to an F in 2015 and 16. Vista Nueva High School, our alternative high school, moved from a B in 2014-15 down to a C in 2015 and 16. And Aztec High School once again maintained a B. In fact, they were only 4 points from an A in 2015 and 16. As you can see, we had 2 schools maintain their grades, and we were very proud of Lydia Rippey and Park Avenue, who both raised their grades. The biggest surprise for us was Kugler Middle School, moving from an A to an F. Because the grading system is very complicated, it is very difficult to understand why there was such a large decrease in their grade. There was more emphasis placed this year on growth, and for that reason it may explain it. We knew that on last year's Park assessment, the KMS scores were lower in English Language Arts and in a couple grade levels in math. But when looking across the state, they were not far off the mark. So to have such a large decrease in the grade caught all of us here in the district by surprise. We don't feel that this grade is an accurate reflection of the staff or the students at Kugler Middle School, but we own the grade. We own all of our grades, and I can assure you that no matter the grade, whether an A or an F, we will look at the data and see where we can improve. It is what lies within the data, not the grade, that will help us improve, and that is exactly what we will do at all of our sites. In our district, we will not look out windows and find people or places to blame, but instead we will look in the mirror and ask the question, what can I do to help improve learning? We will have our leaders and the leadership teams dive into the data, identify areas of improvement, provide the training where necessary, and address the issues at all sites. There are assessments that we use during the year that are far more important than this one in driving our learning and improving instruction. Now, this is not to say that the park is not important, but it is only one of the assessments we use. It is the most summative assessment we use, and it is an assessment of learning. There are plenty of other assessments we give in our district that are for learning and that are more timely, relevant, and more important because we can take the results and make timely changes. These assessments are the common formative assessments and the interim assessments that we give. The results from these not only drive our instruction, but they also drive our intervention and our enrichment for students and help us set up our collaborative teaching action plans that are done between both our principals and our teachers after our interim assessments are completed. We do these in our core subject areas. So Park may get all the attention, but it is important for everyone to know that there are other assessments we give during the year that drive our learning and instruction. Here is our system of assessments. As you can see, there are many types of assessments that we give in our district. They include classroom assessments, common assessments, meaning that they're common across all grade levels or in different subjects such as at the high school and all science classes such as biology, math classes, algebra 1, etc. We also give district level assessments across the district and external assessments, and we'll talk more specifically about those as we move through this chart. As you look at the diagram below that has the arrows across both ends of it, you can see that we are talking about different assessments that are most formative. Most formative means that they're given in nature that we get the most information in a timely manner. Then there's those that will become more formative, that they're given in a timely manner, but they're more spread out more weekly or over a period of like a 3-week span. And then there's those assessments that we consider more summative. Those are given out even in a more timely manner, such as over a course of, say, 7 to 9 weeks. So they capture more information and over a longer period of time. And then there's those assessments in our district that are most summative, and that's where we talk about external assessments, such as PARCC. So as we move down the diagram, where you see the different kinds of assessments, we start with daily assessments. Every day in our district, we believe strongly that students should be assessed daily, and this happens in the classroom. And as we move across, you'll see that we also do assessments weekly. Every week, we should be assessing students. Now, this may be a simple quiz, it may be a simple test at the end of a unit, and then again, we're assessing students monthly. We also do semester tests, and again, annual tests, again, talking about PARCC. So as we talk about daily assessments, moving down into that first block, this occurs daily, and this could be a simple activity like a thumbs up and down activity. And this activity simply means asking students, if you understand the information, give me a thumbs up. If you kind of understand it, a thumb sideways. If you don't get what I'm talking about in the class today, thumbs down. The importance of this activity gives the teacher an idea of where do they need to start their instruction the next day. It's a simple, timely interaction between the teacher and the student. Again, it's an assessment that happens daily so they understand exactly where they need to start instruction. It drives instruction, and it's a simple assessment. We also use electronic clickers. Clickers can be used where a teacher can pass those out and ask 3 simple questions about the teaching that day and get real quick feedback, again, for the idea of where do I need to start my instruction the next day. You may not have to repeat things the next day. You may be able to move on, or you may need to reteach a certain standard that you taught the day before. Whiteboard activities is another simple example. Using whiteboards in the class. Say you're working a math example on the board, having students write down the math example, answer it. Students simply hold up the whiteboard. You can do a quick glance across the classroom to see if all the students got the right answer. That's a simple, and just 3 simple examples. There are plenty more, but that is a good little look at what you can do daily. Now again, when we're doing daily assessments, they're diagnostic and prescriptive because again, we're diagnosing the learning instantly, and then we're being very prescriptive in the learning to say, what do we need to do next to treat those that aren't learning and to move forward. So the biggest thing about daily assessments is they're real time, they happen right now, and they help us adjust our instruction. So as we move over to the next block and we look at these kinds of assessments, these assessments are more formative. They're not the most formative because they don't happen daily, but they're more formative, and they happen weekly or in times of like unit tests. So they occur, as I said, per unit. They're collaboratively developed, and we use these as what we call our common formative assessments. In our district, we usually give these every 3 weeks. They're frequent, they're small, they're not big tests like you would see on a semester test, but what these do is they identify students who need additional time and support. So the RTI, which means response to intervention, and they help us identify those students. They also help us identify what's happening with teaching. So they identify effective teaching and strategies through collaboratively studying the assessment results. So when we look at those results, we not only identify what students need more time, what interventions they need, but what students also got it. So we can identify what enrichment activities those students need. But it also helps us identify what teachers may need help in certain instructional areas. But again, these are more timely tests where they're more formative and they happen about 3 weeks in time. As we move across to the next box, these are assessments that we give and they happen more like in a 7 to 9 week period of time. And they occur at least 3 times a year. They help us measure the balance and the pace of our curriculum. They help identify students who are eligible for ongoing response to intervention. So we'll start the intervention every 3 weeks, but we'll continue that intervention with students, and this helps us align some of our instruction. It shows how students are moving through the overall curriculum in our school. And it also helps us look at the predictor of how students will probably do on the PARCC assessment, which you will see is the most formative assessment we give. It's at this point in time where we're doing more of a summative assessment because, again, this is over a bunch of information. It's not as timely or as formative as our previous assessments. And finally, we look at the annual assessment in the last box, and that's where we talk about the external assessment that we get from the state. And this is where we talk about PARC. It occurs annually for our grades 3 through 8 and then our 10th and 11th graders, and it measures the proficiency on the benchmarks and standards as set by the state. It provides the data for our school grades, our designations and school grades, and also for our teacher evaluations. So as we walk through this, it may look very complicated, but you can see that things are very well aligned, and it's an important piece, and this is our balanced and comprehensive system of assessment. Each and every year when we get our school grades, we always look for those areas where we can celebrate success, and we will always continue to look for those areas in which we can improve.